Right, good morning people of YouTubes. I guess we better finish off this engine before we do anything else. So yeah, I've got a couple of bits here now, so we can crack on. I've started off by cleaning the face of it up so it's all nice and clean, and I've got the new thicker dowels in, so hopefully we won't get any issues there. And then we've got the baffle plate. That's what one of them is. Trouble is, it don't quite fit, so we're going to have to notch out. I think this little corner here is where it don't quite fit. I think I had to do that on one of the last ones. So yeah, we'll do that. And we'll get this sump all sealed up and bolted into place. And then we can flip it back over to this position and then crack on and get the head on. And then I'll go through, once the head is on, I'll then go through the timing of these VVC mechanisms. So stay tuned for that. Right, let's get on to it. Right, we've got this trimmed up a little bit. So we've got that little corner trimmed up in there. And then we just had to get the old file in around some of these bends here, because it just wasn't fitting. You can see how tight that one is. And then just in there. But that's all fit and flush now. And I just used this little wheelie tool thing, I call them. But if I can pick up in one piece, I'll show you what it looks like on the actual engine. So you can see how that encloses that pickup tube, and then you got a few gaps around here for the oil to slosh around into. So yeah, is that about right? Yeah, I think that's about right. So we'll get this sump all sealed up, and then we'll get it slapped on, get that all torqued down, and then we can flip the engine back over and start building up the top half. Right, got some sealant around the sump now. This is the stuff I use. Haven't had any issues with this, so I'll just continue on using it. Slightly different to the stuff that I use on the oilways. This is actually for like flange sealant. So is the red stuff that I use, but the red stuff is more of an internal engine flange sealant, where this is a external flange sealant, if that makes any sense. So I've been told anyway. So yeah, we're going to get that bolted on to the block there. That's all prepared, ready to go. Get the bolts in there and tighten the torque gears 25 Newton meters in sequence. Right, there we go, all on and bolted on. As I say, the sump bolts are 25 Newton meters, and you do them in like a spiral pattern. There is a torque sequence to it, and I have got it in the book there, but I normally just do it on a spiral pattern, so you work away from the middle and then just go outwards, and all will be good. Engine mount is on as well. You have to remove the engine mount to get to that bolt there. So they're 45 Newton meters for them 4 bolts. And then we just got the sump bung on with a new crush washer as well. So we'll get this flipped over, and then we'll get on to getting the head on. Right, I've cleaned up the block again, just with some brake clean and a rag. I've got the gasket on, and again I've cleaned the face of the cylinder head again with some brake cleaner and some rag. So we're just going to pop the cylinder head on and start the torque procedure. That's on. I've oiled the threads and the head of the bolts. So what we're going to do is we're going to torque them up in sequence, start from the middle on the intake side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to do 20 newton meters, and then we're going to let it set for 20 minutes, and then we're going to re-torque them down to 20 newton meters, and then we can go on to the 2 angle torques. Right, so I've just gone around another 20 newton meters, just double checked they're all tight, which they were. I've marked the heads of the bolts, so we're now going to do the 2 180s. So we'll start again from this one, and then at 180 will be, so that was down to like 6 o'clock, and then when we go round again, we'll finish up with that pointer or that mark in that position you see it then. Right, so I'm just going to get you on set up. Right, so that's all torqued down. I've got all the buckets in as well, which have been soaked in oil, and I've just got the camshaft in as well. So now we'll go over to the bench and I'll show you how to do the VVC timing mechanisms. Right, so I'm now going to build up all this VVC mechanism assembly. This is the VVC mechanism. You can get a special tool which hold all this in place, so you don't really need that as long as you're careful. So try not to knock it over or take the camshaft out, because there's lots of little bits of metal that can fall out and they're very difficult to get back in again. I've replaced the gaskets with some new gaskets. As you see, the old ones are just there. Yeah, so all we're basically doing is we need to make sure that these two slots line up to begin with. And then obviously we've got the other one. So I've given all this a good old clean, bit of wet and dry, and I've blown it all out with some brake cleaner and an airline, so everything's all squeaky clean. I've got some engine assembly lube just in the camshaft area where we're going to fit the camshaft. So we'll just get onto it and make a start. Right, so the first thing you want to do, you want to take your control shaft and you want to stick that in there like that. Just give it a little bit of a turn just to get that engine assembly lube around it. So the next thing you want to do, you want to grab one of your VVC mechanisms. We'll start off with this one. As you see, we've got our things lined up there. So again, just be careful you don't drop the camshaft or pull the camshaft out. So all we're doing here is we're just going to feed that in there and then into there. And you can see here that it's all lined up, and you see we can turn this shaft and that'll turn this bit in here. So we'll get a couple of bolts in this end. Right, and we're just nipping them up. I'm not even nipping them up, it's just wind them in, so you can still move this VVC mechanism around a little bit, because basically when we sit all this on top of the head, we want to have enough play on here so these don't get snagged up on the head, but they're still secure on the actual cam ladder. So yeah, so we just move that about so that is in position, and then we'll grab our other one. Just make sure that's in position, and then we'll do the same on this side. And you want to, if I move this over a little bit, need to make sure that these teeth go into these teeth, and the aim is to get it so this is how this is, and the same on the other side as well. Right, as you can see, that one there is a little bit off, and you can just see that it's just caught on that first tooth there. And if you have a look at this one's slightly round the other way, and this is running out of teeth, so we're about a tooth out. So we're just going to whip this back off and then reset it again. You need to make sure that this is right, because if not you'll get all sorts of fault codes relating to your VVC. Right, as you can see, that one's all lined up now, that one's all lined up, and you've got to pay attention to these teeth in here, because that will soon tell you if you're out or not. But you can push that all the way around until it stops, and that's just passed, and that's just passed. Okay, so we'll just reset that back to normal, and yeah, we can apply some sealant onto this now, and we can bolt that to the head. So this bit is done. Right, that's the sealant all on and rolled out with a roller. You don't want to put too much on, just a continuous bead it says, and then spread it out with a roller. I think if you buy the kit off Rimmer Brothers, I think it comes with one of them bloody PVA glue spreader things that I used to get at school. Yeah, but a roller, just got this off Amazon. I think it's like a couple of quid or something like that. Just a decorator's roller, did the job just fine. Now I can't stress this enough to use the correct sealant. I use this stuff here, the Loctite 5188. Now this stuff works differently in silicone. If you use silicone and it mushes out, it will dry and it will block all these oil galleries, where this stuff here, that'll only dry in the absence of air. So once it's clamped together, only the parts that are clamped together where it's airtight, it will then dry. Anything that gets smoothed into these oil galleries will get washed out when they first start, because that'll still be like this, it'll still be runny, shall we say. So that'll all get caught up, washed out the oil galleries and into the oil filter, and that'll just degrade. But once you've had an engine apart like this anyway, you're best off change the oil again after about 30 minutes to 60 minutes of running time. So obviously run it up to get it warm and all that sort of stuff, and then you dump the oil out, change the filter, put new oil in. That's what I do anyway. But all timed up, and if we move this bar here, you can see it all moving. So that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to get some engine assembly lube in the camshaft bits, and then we're going to slap it on top of the engine and get this torqued down. Right, that's all together now. I'll torque these down. They're different to the MPIs and the 135s and all that sort of stuff. Normally you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down this side, and then you do all the middle ones. But on a VVC, you start off with this one here, and then you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you go on to this one, and then you just like that basically. So they're a little bit different to torque down to the non-VVC versions. Torque these up as well, 10 newton meters. These are all 10 newton meters, so you have to do that progressively. 10 newton meters, all new cam seals in as well. So now we're going to insert the plunger and finish timing the VVC mechanisms up. And you want to, don't know if you'll be able to see it very well here, but there's an inspection hole just in there, and you want to push the plunger down until you see another hole start to appear. So hopefully I can get you set up so you can see the process, but I don't think it's going to come across too clear, but I'll cut it anyway and just show you. Right, so basically you want to get your VVC mechanism or controller all together with a sandwich plate and the plunger in all the way down, so it's at the top here. Basically you want to make sure that this shaft has loads of oil on it, because sometimes they can snag up. Yeah, and then we'll just start pushing it in, and hopefully when this plate meets the face of the head here, you should be able to see the timing marks. Yeah, not sure if you saw that or not, but just in this hole, as we pushed it in, you could see the actual timing mark hole. So now you just need to check this side here. Yeah, we can see the hole in there, so that is all timed up. So now all we do is we put our bolts in and torque them down. Alright, so I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see that, but just in that hole there you can see the little cutout for the VVC mechanisms to say that's all timed up. If you have a look at the other side, that one will be exactly the same. So that is all timed up, and that is all to it, to timing up these VVC control units. So we're just going to get on and get everything else put back on, the water outlet, the cam cover. What else have we got to do? Inlet manifold, we'll stick all that on, and we'll put the timing belt all on as well. So I don't think I'm going to record any of that because I've already previously covered that in a previous video. So if you want to know all that sort of jazz, then go back and look at them videos. But I think I might just set you up and put you on a time lapse, to be honest. Right, all together. So it was relatively straightforward, wasn't it? Yeah, so all the inlet manifolds on, all the vacuum hoses, all the fuel hoses. Had to swap this return hose because the one that came with the engine was bent, so I didn't really want to risk running that. Top inlet, anything to say about that? The gasket isn't the ones that I normally use. It's just a cheap, I think it's like an L-ring gasket, but the factory ones are like a neoprene. That's just like a paper gasket. So we'll see how we get on with that. There's no boost going through it, so it's just vacuum, so it should be okay. Harness is all in, fuel pipes all in, time belt on, coils all on, elbow on with a new gasket. I've got the gasket and the new nuts on ready for the exhaust to go on, but we'll have to swap that off. Yeah, so that's it. That's all timed up, time belt on. That was a new timing belt last season. This one is the one that came off the blown up engine. So when I built that engine, that was all brand new, so that looked absolutely fine. So we've stuck that on. Lightened crank pulley. But yeah, that is it. So the next stage is going to be putting the engine wiring harness on, and there's a couple of things I forgot to do. Is where it bolts onto the oil pump, there's no threads in here, so I'm going to whip this off, and don't have to whip off that one, but re-tap these. And we need to get the engine harness on, which is the MEMS 3 engine harness. I've got to go through that and just make sure that's all okay. Yeah, so so the next stage is going to be taking the subframe off the race car, taking the engine out of that, and then putting this engine and gearbox and the gearbox that's on the car into that subframe and bolting all that up. So yeah, that's going to be the next race car episode. In the meantime, I've got to go through the wiring harness for the vehicle. I've got a MEMS 3 full vehicle harness, so I'm going to go through that, take out all the wires that I don't need and tape that back up. I'll probably do that at home, off camera. Very tedious, laborious job is unwrapping all the wiring harness, making sure you don't get anything muddled up, so you need to lay it all on the floor, and then literally pick out the plugs like the horn or the washer bottle plugs, and then pulling them all out the wiring harness all the way up to the fuse box, etc, etc, etc. And we've got to get rid of the 5AS and the power steering as well. So I'm just hoping when we go to plug all that in, it's going to run. So yeah, that's going to be quite a challenge, shall we say. Hopefully not a challenge, but it probably will end up being a challenge. Anyway, that's enough waffling for today. That is the spare race engine which we're going to start the season on. All done, ready to go in. The engine that we'll take out, it's literally just a case of pulling it all apart, putting some shells in it and putting that all back together again. So that should be good, ready to go, literally within a couple of days as a spare engine. Right, again, that's enough for me waffling. I'm going to leave it here for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.